I guess the big idea for the whole presentation is both the student's performance and how you observe or score it, meaning usually the rubric, defines what kind of evidence you get from an assessment. So you could have a marvelous assessment with lots of evidence of student thinking, but if your rubric doesn't have any criteria that allow you to evaluate the quality of the student thinking, then once that lovely assessment, that student work goes home with the student, all you're left with is some rating of things besides the student thinking, like maybe how many facts they put in or whatever. If you're going to do that, you might as well give them a test. The rubric needs to really look at the quality of students' thinking and the substance of student work and not just count surface level features, or you won't actually get what you think you're getting out of a really rich performance task. Before we go too much farther, I want to clarify what I mean by rubric, because some people call any scoring scheme a rubric. Checklists, rating scales, point schemes, true rubrics, and I want to make sure that you know that in this webinar we're talking about true rubrics. So here's an example of a checklist, a rating scale, and a tiny but actually true rubric. I hope that you are looking at those now and trying to figure out which one is which. If there weren't 900 of you, I'd give you a little quiz on that, but there's too many of you to do that. The upper left-hand one is a checklist. It has criteria. In this case, it has 3 of them. But the rating or scoring is a present or absent decision. My sentence has a capital letter or it doesn't. Check for yes, or a Y for yes. The symbol doesn't matter. The idea is that you can just make a present or absent decision. The one in the blue there is a math problem solving at what some people would call rubric, but it's not. If you look at it, you'll notice that all it does is rate. So that if, for instance, you were good on describing what the problem was asking, there's no information in there that would tell you what to do if you wanted to be excellent at that. It's a rush to judgment. There are criteria. There are 4 of them there. But then what you do is evaluate. The little rubric at the bottom is indeed a little rubric, but it is a true rubric in that it has both criteria and performance level descriptions. The rubric says, did I reason from examples to arrive at a clear, accurate description of physical and chemical changes? This was a rubric that was applied to some work in a high school chemistry class. And notice that there are ratings there, 2, 1, and 0. We all know 2 is greater than 1, which is greater than 0. But you don't jump to the evaluation. The first thing you do is match the description with the student work. So you look at what the student did and you give it a 2 if and only if you can say that student work completely and clearly reasons from examples to arrive at a description of physical and chemical changes. There's clear evidence of reasoning. There are examples. Okay, then it's a 2. So it ends up with a rating, but it's not a rush to judgment. The principle that rubrics work on is that you match the description to student work, and then you get your rating. And the cool thing there is students can also use those descriptions. That's how come rubrics are good for both learning and teaching, as well as for grading. If you only wanted a new good way to score student work to give a grade, you wouldn't need to bother with rubrics. Any point scheme or traditional way of adding up points will arrive at a grade. The thing about rubrics is those descriptions that you and the students can use. That's the big deal. So, as I just said, true rubrics have both criteria and performance level descriptions, and that is a very big deal.